Well, what's up, all of you Ugnaughts and Jawas out there, and welcome back to Mando Talk. On this episode, I am doing a rundown, review, reaction, discussion of Andor Episode 4. It's going to be spoiler heavy, so yeah, there's your warning. I will say this: I owe an apology to all of our listeners. We were supposed to have myself, DJ, and Zach on this episode where we were really going to dive in and do like an hour-long podcast episode like we normally do. We always aim to release those on the first Monday of each month. But this past week, I got sick and we were unable to get that recording done at the time that we had scheduled, at the time we had planned in our calendar. So here's what we're going to do. We're definitely going to reschedule that. My plan and my hope is that you definitely hear from myself, DJ, and Zach Horvath all together at some point while Andor is releasing, for us to have a spoiler discussion about the most recent episode and just share our thoughts and our love and our passion for Andor and then for everything else that's been going on in Star Wars recently. So that is still coming, but I wanted to make sure that I apologize to all of our listeners. That's definitely something that I can't wait to finally be able to do. But you've got me on this episode. You've got just me, because I am still kind of getting over the sickness a little bit, but we're almost out of it. But yeah, it is coming soon. I promise I'm not going to drop the ball on us three getting together. It's something that we've wanted for so long. It's going to happen at some point. But anyway, let's start to get into this review, reaction, spoiler discussion, breakdown, you name it. But one or two plugs here. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Mando Talk YouTube channel, for more Star Wars content. We're really close to our current goal of 300 subscribers. In fact, as I'm recording this, I believe we are 19 subscribers away from 300. So help us get there. Go over to that YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. And also follow us on Twitter at Mando Talk. And I will also give another plug that I usually just give at the end, but it's on my mind. I have some fun covering some other franchises, other universes, Marvel, DC, Game of Thrones, you name it. But I'm starting to just exclusively do that on TikTok, and that is at Casual Geek Clips on TikTok. Just type in Casual Geek Clips, and it'll take you to my profile, and right there I'm having a lot of fun covering, all the other shows and trailers and movies and all the different things that are coming out. So go check me out on that platform as well. All right, I've got my episode 4 notes pulled up here, and we're just going to run through this thing together, and I'll share my thoughts as we go. So we open the episode 4, on board Luthen's ship. Cassian was part of a battle on Mimban when he was 16. We learned this through a discussion. Luthen continues to pitch to Cassian to join the true fight against the Empire and tells Cassian, "You'll ultimately die fighting these bastards." And I thought that line was so cool, because obviously we know Cassian does end up fighting those bastards, because we've seen Rogue One, we've seen his character's demise and end, his beautiful end that he has in that film, in that lovely film that we all came to love Cassian to begin with. So I really enjoyed that tip of the cap line there from Luthen. All right, next up, Luthen offers Cassian 200,000 credits for delivering on stealing the quarterly payroll for an entire Imperial sector. And Cassian does agree to this, but we get some more details on this mission later in the episode. All right, continuing. We go to Coruscant for, I think it's the first time we've seen Coruscant since the prequel films. Obviously not counting animation. I'm talking live action here. I think this is the first time we've been there in a very, very long time. And when we go to Coruscant, it is absolutely beautiful. I love the way that it's shot. It's like a brand new way that it's shot too. Like, Coruscant looks different here. Like, I know it's the same Coruscant, but just the directing style, the directing choice of how to shoot these scenes on Coruscant, it gave it like the most realistic version of Coruscant that we'll ever get to. Like, maybe way off in the future we end up having cities like this, but it just felt like down to earth even though it's not. I don't know how else to describe that. It was just really cool. I love the way that Coruscant was shot throughout this entire episode. But our first scene here on Coruscant, we see the Imperial Security Bureau, and they are shown discussing important security issues across the galaxy to identify, quote, this is what the Major believes their job is, to identify germs, whether they arise from within or have come from the outside. The longer we wait to identify a disorder, the harder it is to treat the disease. So key characters introduced here in this ISB meeting is Major Partagaz. Love that dude. Love his performance. He's obviously a Game of Thrones actor. Love to see whenever there's crossover there. Dedra and then Blevin. Those three were probably the big Imperial Security Bureau officers that we needed to make sure that we were familiar with from this episode and from this scene in particular. Easter egg. One of the conversations, it says increase in construction shipments going to Scarif. Obviously, Scarif is the planet that we see in Rogue One, so that was really cool as well. You know, we heard rumor before this series premiered that Tony Gilroy wasn't a fan of Easter eggs. Episode 4 of Andor might be the most Easter eggs I've ever seen in a Star Wars project. So I don't know. That may have been a misquote that people online ran with. I don't know if Tony Gilroy actually said that, but I'd have to dig and do some research. But regardless, there's tons of Easter eggs throughout this episode, and we'll definitely get to a couple of other things. All right, so at that moment in the episode, we cut to Aldhani. So I'm going to scroll down to my Aldhani notes and try to get to where we cut to in this moment in the episode. All right, so on Aldhani, Cassian takes on the name Clem during this job, which I believe was his adoptive father's name. I believe that's why he's chosen that name. Luthen gives Cassian a down payment, a Kuwati signet, a blue kyber, sky stone. It celebrates the uprising against the Rakuten invaders. Luthen views it as worth 50,000 at the least. So Rakuten invaders is another interesting Easter egg. I believe the Rakuten Empire are the species that invented hyperspace or something like that. Again, I haven't done my Wikipedia research and deep dive with all of this stuff, but yeah, I've definitely heard of that phrase, so there's another Easter egg there. Okay. Vel, we are introduced to Vel next up. Vel is leading operations on Aldhani, but is taking orders from Luthen. And basically the order is bring Cassian in to get the job done. And Vel ends up taking Cassian in, and we go from there. All right, from here in the episode, it says cut to Morlana 1. This is our one moment on Morlana 1 for the episode. On Morlana 1, Blevin informs the Pre-Mor security they are to give everything over to the ISB, and the Morlana system is under permanent Imperial authority, which is exactly what Karn's boss did not want to happen. And that dude was not happy, you could tell. He keeps saying, but I had nothing to do with this, basically. But yeah, tough. Morlana 1 is now under Imperial authority, so I really like seeing this. I like seeing the things that have to happen in order for this empire to just fully take over across the galaxy. This was fantastic. All right, from that one scene in Morlana 1, we cut back to Aldhani, where Vel informs Cassian they are robbing an Imperial armory at the Aldhani garrison, and we get our first look at some Imperial TIE fighters that fly overhead. Love the sound, and I really think that's, well, primarily the reason why the TIE fighters were in this episode was to show the Imperial presence on Aldhani. But number two, it was to add the noise, right? I mean, one of the best sounds in Star Wars is the sound of a TIE fighter's roar. All right, from there we cut back to Coruscant. Dedra has taken interest in the Morlana 1 incident since the Starpath unit comes from her assigned sector, Steerguard, which sounds familiar, but again, I haven't had the opportunity to dive into where I've heard of Steerguard before. Luthen arrives to Coruscant and changes into a Coruscant look in a well-acted moment. He puts on the wig, the robe, the rings, the bracelets, all this stuff that you would typically see someone on Coruscant wearing, and he does some gestures and gets into character. That was great. Fantastic performance by Stellan Skarsgård. Blevin refuses to turn over files regarding Ferrix to Dedra. It is revealed Dedra has been in this position for a year, which sets some tension between Blevin and Dedra later on in this episode. And then we cut back to Aldhani. Cassian and Vel arrive at camp, and as expected, the team is unsure of Cassian's presence. Then we cut back to Coruscant. On Coruscant, Kern arrives on Coruscant and walks us through a rare look at the planet, which again, this was kind of like the down-to-earth kind of look that I was talking about earlier. Kern goes to his mother's home, gets slapped, and welcomed with a hug. And then again, we cut back to Aldhani yet again. The men of the group question Vel regarding bringing Cassian in this late, and Cinta tends to Cassian's injuries. For some reason, I get a feeling that Cinta is going to be the most important of this Aldhani crew. I don't know why I get those vibes, but I do. And then again, we cut back to Coruscant. All right, on Coruscant, Mon Mothma arrives. Senator Mon Mothma arrives at Luthen's antique shop looking for a gift for her husband, Perrin, since it is his day of days and a Chandrillan custom. Things I spotted inside this antique shop, which again, here's the Easter eggs like crazy, and I probably missed some, honestly. Mandalorian armor, the Star Killer helmet, stonework that looks similar to the World Between Worlds, wall art from Rebels, a Gungan shield, and I think I also saw Indiana Jones's whip. And I'm sure there was a ton of other things, so drop down in the comments, hop over to Twitter in my DMs, wherever. Let me know of other things that I may have missed. Luthen and Mon Mothma sneak to the back room to have a conversation. The real reason that Mothma is actually there. She's there to get a gift for her husband, but she's really there to have a conversation with Luthen because these two are in cahoots together. Luthen feels she hasn't delivered on something. Mothma is attempting to pull funds for Luthen, and Mothma has found someone she believes can help. Now, we don't know who this individual she believes can help is. Obviously, for me, for some reason, I immediately thought of Bail Organa, but I feel like we're too late into this, that Bail Organa probably is already involved with the early rebellion, I'm thinking. So I actually am leaning toward it being a newer character, but I'd be okay with it being Bail Organa, obviously. Come on, give me Jimmy Smits as much as possible. But that's where my current thought process is on who Mothma wants to bring on board at this point in the rebellion. It seems like we're very early stages of the rebellion, so it certainly could be Bail Organa. Definitely could be Bail Organa. All right, and then from there, we cut back to Aldhani. Okay, Lieutenant Gorn arrives, and Lieutenant Gorn is the squad's contact at the garrison. He is an Imperial engineer from Coruscant. Oh, no. Excuse me. So he looks to be working for the Empire, but he's actually helping this Aldhani crew, and he reports to the crew that an Imperial engineer from Coruscant is set to arrive. Now, I don't know who this Imperial engineer is going to be. Again, I'm leaning toward being a brand new character, and I have a feeling we'll see that in next week's episode, because I think we're going to see the big overhead shot of the Imperial Star Destroyer arriving on Aldhani next week, and I have a feeling maybe the Imperial engineer is riding in that Star Destroyer during that scene. But we'll see. All right, and then we again cut back to Coruscant. We do a lot of back and forward throughout this episode. Mothma arrives to her home where her husband Perrin is getting a dinner party prepared. Sly Moore is invited. among others, much to the disliking of Mothma. And this scene really just depicts that Mon Mothma's husband is absolutely horrible. Worst husband in the galaxy. Gotta be. Not very supportive of Mon Mothma and all the things that she's trying to get done in her senator job, if you will. But yeah, didn't like Perrin in the slightest. All right, then we cut back to Aldhani, and we get some important information, I think, that's going to display itself in next week's episode. The crew is preparing their plan. They are planning to escape on a Max 7 Rono freighter. To make up for the slowness of the freighter, the crew plans to use the celestial event, the Eye of Aldhani, to aid in their escape. The Eye of Aldhani is said to be 50 meteor showers all at once until the eye forms over the horizon. It is technically a recurrent band of crystallized, noctilucent microdensities, billions of crystals, very heavy but small and unstable. As the planet passes through the belt, they swarm the atmosphere, heat up, and explode. From the ground, it's a thing of beauty. In the sky, it's chaos. Lieutenant Gorn has seen it twice. The crew has calculated an escape entry that gets them out just before the eye closes. And finally, Cassian commits to being in the plan all the way. Now, I do believe, I'm speculating that we have actually already seen the Eye of Aldhani in a trailer. It was a really stunning shot where there's all kinds of colors in the horizon, and Cassian is seen, piloting a freighter, kind of fitting the description here that we get in this episode. So I think we've seen part of it, and I can't wait to see it, in all of its glory and more than just 2 seconds, because it really is stunning from what we've seen in the trailer. So I can't wait to see the Eye of Aldhani, assumingly next week. All right, then we cut back to Coruscant. I believe this is going to be our final cut to Coruscant for this week's episode. Dedra and Blevin make their case to Major Portuguese on sharing information regarding Ferrix. Interesting dialogue from Portuguese directed at Dedra once they are alone, which, by the way, Portuguese tells Dedra that, you can't have Blevin's information regarding this Ferrix incident. It's not your sector. You've got other things that you got to take care of right now. So basically, the Major shoots her down. But once they're alone, we get some interesting dialogue that I haven't quite interpreted fully all the way yet. So you help me out. Let me know what you think from this. Portuguese says the following: "There's a high bar for your performance, Lieutenant." And he actually doesn't say it like Lieutenant. He's like, Lieutenant. He says it very Imperial-like, and I loved it. "There's a high bar for your performance, Lieutenant." Unfair, perhaps, but senseless to ignore, and potentially the foundation of a uniquely superior career. You're supposed to be more competent and tucked away. That's why you're here. That's why we're bringing in officers like you. Let's remind everyone of that and not get lost in the dust. Interesting dialogue there. It has me speculating that maybe she is someone of very, very, very high importance, but we just don't know the full details behind this character yet. I'm interested to know more about Dedra, and that just means that they set up that character perfectly in this episode. Very interesting dialogue, though, from there. And then we do, in fact, cut to Aldhani, and this is our final cut. We see that the crew is eating around the fire as they push Cassian to learn more information for the mission, which appears to be going down next episode. And then there's the music. There is the end of Andor episode 4, and I thought this episode yet again was fantastic. Episode 1 built the world slowly. Episode 2 cranked it up a little bit, but again focused on it a little slow. Episode 3, the intensity was high. Episode 4, I think we're still riding on that high intensity. There's not action in this one, at least not a lot of action, but there is very, very, very important dialogue that is going to drive this story moving forward. So a very important one to watch as far as the Andor series goes, but also I think it's going to pay off very well with the remainder of this series. We still got 8 more episodes. Remember, it's a total of 12 episodes, so there's still tons of storytelling potential that we get to sink our teeth into and get to dissect, react to, review, discuss. Let me know what you thought of Andor Episode 4 down in the comments. If you're over on YouTube, if you're on our podcast platforms, hop on over to Twitter at Mando Talk and let me know in my DMs, or just tweet at me. Tell me what you thought of Andor Episode 4. There's also a Mando Talk Discord. I'll have that Discord link down in the description. If you click that link, you can join our small, close, tight-knit community where we have discussions about Star Wars most of the time, but we also occasionally have non-Star Wars related discussions. So all of those different things, come and tell me what you thought of Andor Episode 4 on all of those different platforms. And like I said, I promise myself, Zach, and DJ will be getting together soon to spoiler discuss all good things about Andor. We'll probably dive deep into the most recent episode whenever we do get that opportunity to sit down and discuss. But make sure you stick around for that. I apologize for you just getting me again, but hopefully you enjoyed this content. Hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know, especially in the YouTube comments. That way anyone that's watching the video can conveniently go down in the comments and see, oh yeah, that happened too. So do that there. All right, let me get out of here. I hope you have a great week, a great day, great hour, great minute, great second, whatever. Have a great life. You know what I mean? Have a great life. Thank you so much for checking us out, and I'll see you on the next one. And as always, we have spoken.